Hello everyone and welcome to this playthrough series of Distant Worlds 2. Finally we get to see this thing. It is release day and we are excited. We're going to play the Mercantile Guild today as the Haakonish, and we'll get going here in just a second. First of all, I just want to thank Matrix and Slitherine Games for the opportunity to not only preview Distant Worlds 2, but also to be part of the beta process going in. It's been a spectacular experience and I'm so proud to be part of this. Anyways, we're going to get going. We're going to start up a new game. I'm going to leave a lot of this stuff pretty much default. The only thing I've really changed on this screen here is I've gone to an elliptical rather than a spiral. I think the spiral is the default, but otherwise 700 stars, and I've gone with dense nebula clusters. For the it makes the game a lot more interesting as far as terrain, spatial terrain goes and everything. So there's going to be some choke points and some stumbling blocks and everything else to get around. So we're going to crank those up to dense. I'd say for your first game, don't go too huge. Keep everything somewhat smallish and take it from there, and then work your way up as you get more familiar with the internal workings. And there's a lot of moving parts in this game, so everything that looks like it's a pretty good solution on the surface might have recurring repercussions down the road, so you have to kind of be careful with your choices going in. So anyways, that's what we're going to be looking at as far as Galaxy. And I'll go to our next setup screen. Galaxy expansion and tech level. This is for basically the rest of the galaxy, so everybody's going to be starting on a pre-warp level for this series. You can start up at an advanced level if you want. You can go to old, put many colonies to start with. Give yourself all the tech if you want. You can start that way. I would say start in pre-warp. It'll ease you into the game a lot better. So yeah, start with pre-warp. These are default settings here pretty much. So just leave everything on default for your first game. Pretty much recommended. So restless aggression, normal difficulty, research speed normal. You can slow this down if you want to maybe stretch out the game a bit. Let me tell you, very slow will be absolutely deadly slow. So consider that going in. This level here isn't too bad if you want to stretch things out, but we're going to leave it at normal for this playthrough. And research visibility. Yes, we can only see the next research projects which are available in the tech tree, and the rest will be hidden until we uncover previous levels. Research pathing will be slight. The randomization is somewhat slight. It's not hard randomization. Like, you're not going to have to research railguns to get to like colonization tech or something like that. So nothing crazy like that goes on. So, but it does shuffle it up a bit. So sometimes you just don't quite know where that one tech you're looking for might be. So you might have to uncover a couple things to get to it. And we're going to allow tech trading on. Why not? And pirates, we're going to leave pretty much at normal. The only thing I've done here is I've cranked up the space creatures to many from normal. That's about the only thing. I find this makes the early game a little more interesting. Going very many is going to be, like it says, very many. So if you want lots of creatures to kill in the early game, then go there. And you literally will not be able to do a whole lot until you clean out some systems. So be prepared for that. But coming up to many, it presents some good early game challenges for sure. And some of these things roam from system to system, so all of a sudden you'll have an artist wander into your home system, and suddenly it's panic time. So we'll do that, and we'll go to the next screen. And colony prevalence. This just shows how many colonizable planets and exploitable bodies there are in your in the galaxy. So keep it at normal. Sometimes you might want to crank it back to rare just to keep things a little more interesting. Have to look harder for stuff. Independent colonies, going to keep them at normal. They're very important in the game. You can put them to very rare, but you're probably going to be shooting yourself in the foot as far as keeping things somewhat easier to deal with. They're good trading partners. You can assimilate them into your empire, all that good stuff. Colony influence range, I'm just going to leave it at 100%, but you can adjust that up and down if you want. And I think this is default 200M. M is a game unit that doesn't really translate to anything real world. So M you can think of as maybe millions of kilometers, 200 millions of kilometers or something like that. So that's kind of how I equate it. But M is a game unit. And yeah, we'll see more of that as we get into the game. Next up is our race, and we are going to be the Haakonish. Haakonish are a bipedal reptilian race. They have broad, flat heads with prominent protrusions on each side. The protrusions are nasal cavities that provide the Haakonish with unrivaled sense of smell. Haakonish have very poor eyesight, but compensate with their excellent sense of smell and taste. They are intelligent and quite aggressive. Haakonish are highly pretentious. They also have a strong sense of their own racial superiority. Thus, they do not enjoy the company of other races and have a tendency to be xenophobic. Haakonish are naturally drawn towards intricate technology. They take great pride in designing and building equipment with the advanced features, even if some of these features are unnecessary or superfluous. The natural miserliness, oh, that's a word. The natural miserliness of the Haakonish has led them to develop a high-density fuel cell, a high-capacity fuel tank. This gives Haakonish starship longer range and endurance. Haakonish typically live in fully enclosed biospheres in coastal areas of marshy swamp and mangrove forest planets. And we have some personality traits here. Aggression, they're very aggressive. They're somewhat cautious. Dependability is unreliable, so they might not make very good allies. Reproduction rate is moderate, so they're going to reproduce at a decent rate. Migration is neutral. They're kind of xenophobic, so they don't really like migration tendencies at all. And assimilation rate, again, resistant because they're somewhat xenophobic. And we have some colonization modifiers. We won't get into that too much. We'll look at more of that once we get in the game. There's some empire bonuses here as well. We have engine research, counter-espionage, hyperdrive research, hyperjump speed, ship energy savings, diplomacy, and war awareness reduction. Diplomacy is our only negative hit here. The rest are fairly positive. And feelings towards other races. As you can see, we're not really liking too many people out there. So we like to keep to ourselves. We're a mercantile guild, so we do want to interact with other races to make money, right? So, and our preferred governments are feudalism and mercantile guild. We'll be going with the mercantile guild today. We're allowed all the other governments as well, so we're not restricted at all. So you can mix it up if you want to go, to a democracy. You can do that. And some default infantry stats here. We'll look at more of that when we get in the game as well. So, off to our government screen. I'm just going to call ourselves the Haakonish Guilds. And there's our Empire flag, and we are going to be the Mercantile Guild. And there's some hits and misses in our stats here. We'll look at these more when you get in the game, because there's a nice screen that summarizes absolutely everything going on in your Empire as far as bonuses. So these will be a little bit different when we do look at them in-game. And one bonus with the Mercantile Guild is we can manually control our mining ships. We can build and manually control mining ships, which is a unique thing for the Mercantile Guild. So if you're short on resources, just grab some mining ships, head to that moon, and start mining, and do it manually if you want. Not really required. The automation in the game is actually pretty good, so... Our starting situation. Now this is our homeworld and where we start. So we set up the galaxy in the earlier screen. This is what we're doing. So we're going to start with a home system of normal, expansion starting, tech level pre-warp, and starting location. I really don't care. I would rather kind of be sort of in the middle if we can, but I'm not really too fussy. As long as we end up in a nice cluster of stars, I'm probably pretty happy. Okay, so next, other empires. You can auto-generate if you want, or you can have starting empires and you can set them up however you want, which I have done here. So basically, I've given us a friend, another Haakonish. He's going to be somewhat average in distance to us, so we should meet them fairly quickly. I also have a Boscaran within average distance. That is going to cause a challenge because Boscarans probably will not like us and we'll probably end up going to war fairly quickly. So we'll have a friend and an enemy nearby. The rest have kind of set to distance, so we got pretty much one of every race in the game. I've added a second human here. Just because I wanted one more race, a duplicate of something. I wasn't sure just what one, so I picked human. And that's pretty much how we're going to set up going out. Don't overload yourself with races either. For your first game, keep it a low number. Keep it single digit. Smaller maps, single digit, and you'll probably be fine keeping track of everything. If you go 20 races on an extra huge map, you might start getting a little confused if this is your first run out. I know it's tempting to go with the absolute biggest thing, but yeah, try to restrain yourself a little bit. So yeah, 9 to 12 players on this side of the map is probably good. 12's getting a little bit crowded, so I went back to 9. And victory conditions. You can enable these, disable these however you want. Right now I'm just going to leave it at default. We need 75% threshold in 3 areas here: territory, population, and economy. And there's also racial victory conditions. We'll have a look at the victory screen once we get in the game. Now the 70% is an accumulation of all of these areas. You need 70% of all this in order to win the game. You can put it up to 100%. You can put all these to 100% and pretty much have a sandbox game if you want. Or you can turn them all off and just not even worry about any of this. We're going to leave all the storylines on because personally I have not been through the Haakonish storylines yet, so this is going to be pretty good. I've sort of picked away during testing. I was in the beta test, so I was picking away at them a little bit, but I haven't really played them since they've implemented the final storylines, so this should be pretty good. Alright, let's get into it. We'll generate our galaxy and see what we end up with. Okay, our faction is known as the Haakonish Guilds. Our government is Mercantile Guild. We are the Haakonish who are typically aggressive and unreliable. Haakonish have natural skills in engine research, counter-espionage, hyperdrive research, hyperjump speed, ship's energy savings, and war wariness reduction. Our leader is going to be renamed, and he's skilled in espionage and war wariness reduction. Our home colony also to be renamed, a marshy swamp planet in the Red Hill system. Nearby is a gas giant, hopefully it has fuel on it. And also nearby is the volcanic moon of Tihai. Our faction has primitive technology. We are just beginning to take our first steps into space. Explore, expand, and conquer. Let's get started. Dead center. Ooh, this could be interesting. And there we are. Home. Expand and exploit. In the ancient Haakonish city ruins, we have made a curious discovery. At long last, we have developed the technology to explore beyond our planet, thanks to the excavation of the ancient Haakonish ruins at our homeworld. The ingenuity of our forebears now belong to us. These ruins contain records of great betrayal and indicate that this planet was attacked from space long ago. This corroborates the oldest legends who are people, which speak of terrible creatures who came from the sky to steal our wealth, enslave our soldiers, and even devour our children. We now know there is at least a seed of truth in the heart of these legends, and so, as we venture into the unknown, we must remain vigilant, wise, and suspicious. As a proverb tells us, trust is for the foolish, and wealth is for the taking. We cannot know what we'll find as we travel beyond the world, but we can dream of new worlds to plunder, vast riches to gather, and lesser beings to exploit. What we have discovered about our ancestors and what we have accomplished ourselves erases all doubts about the superiority of Haakonish. Even so, we must beware of ancient enemies. If we are true to our nature and seek to gain much while risking little, then greatness surely awaits us. We will reinvest in what makes us Haakonish and earn back the glories of our past. And we have found technology that has advanced our understanding of early warp field experiments, and we have found technology that has advanced our understanding of research labs. And the ruins also provide us with some colony bonuses, 8% colony development and 9% scenery. Alright, so I'll just take me to the ancient Haakonish city ruins, which is our homeworld here. I'll dismiss that and hit pause, because pause is the first thing we do in a game of Distant Worlds, because we have to do some stuff before we get going. Alright, so anyways, let's have a quick look at our home system. Yeah, looks like we have a few things. We have a ruin over here, which we'll have to explore. Right off the bat, we cannot leave our orbit. So we're pretty much restricted to our orbit. This is our homeworld. We might be able to get over to these two things here in a bit of time to see what these are about. We're taking weeks and months to actually get over here, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So we won't be able to see the rest of this until we get some technology discovered. Over here we have an unknown something or other. We won't know that till we get out and looking around. And it looks like just standard planets and moons everywhere else. So if we zoom out a little further, we can see our local neighborhood, which is we are right in dead center as we saw coming in. It looks like we have a storm over here. These are nebulas, so they create natural barriers in the galaxy. So we can travel through them. It'll be very slow. Some of them are different storms and what have you. If you look at the rollover down at the bottom here, you can see your boundaries are on. We can turn those off if you don't like the look of them. Okay, I just have them on as for illustration. But as you can see, if they're color-coded, they're all gray right now. Once we get exploring, they'll turn different colors depending on what they are. So the orange are galactic storms, purple are ion storms, green is gravitic storms, and yellow is radiation storms. So depending on what kind of storm it is, will depend on what happens with your ships. The gravitic storms are, I think, the worst. They literally rip your ships apart if you enter these, so you got to be careful on what's around you. So that's our galaxy. So quite a bit of stuff out here. Starting dead center, we're probably going to meet everybody. That's the thing about starting in the middle, is it's going to get very busy very fast. So I have no idea where everybody else is. We know we have an average distance Haakonish near us. We also have an average distance Boscaran somewhere near us. So they're probably going to be in the core here somewhere. And then everybody else will be scattered around. So that's kind of what our galactic neighborhood looks like. And we can spin around. And we can use the Q and E keys to do that as well. And then we can snap to positions. Galactic North. Spin around by using Shift Q and E. So find your galactic north, find out just the lay of the land, so keep yourself pointing north, and then you should be able to orient yourself fairly well. Alright, so come back in, and this is basically all we're going to be looking at for the first, pretty much the first episode. So anyways, here's Homeworld. This is home. And we got some unknown items present. If we just have a look, we can see that we have some Magellus nut on surface of our homeworld, so that's a luxury item. We have some carbonite, and we have one unknown resource. We have to actually explore a bit more before we know what that resource is. So as you can see, unknown items present, and I think exploration levels go from 0 to 255 or something maximum by the time you hit end game. Get all your scanners and everything, so that goes fairly deep. Start with some people, and I think what we'll do is have a quick look at our automation levels. If we come into the first tab here and go straight over to policy settings, and we'll drop down advisors and automation. These are pretty much default. I've turned a few things off. So you can chop and choose however you want to use these. If you want everything in the game automated and you just want to watch it play itself, you can do that. You can just put everything on automate if you want, and that would be like, oops, rule in absence. So there's some presets here. If you want to be a spy master, you can click that, and that'll set up a bunch of stuff for you. Basically automate everything except the spy game. So the whole empire will run itself except for that, and you'll have to deal with the intelligence missions and everything. So you can do that, or if you want to go expert, put absolutely everything on manual, you can do that as well. I suggest you don't do that for your first game. You might run into a couple of problems. Let's go back to default. This is what you're going to be looking at coming into the game. So I'm going to adjust a couple things for my own play style. As you can see, I don't have the research automated right now, so there's nothing actually researching at the moment. So we're going to come down. I'm going to turn research off. I'm going to leave ship and base designs on, and everything else will be off here. So I'm going to be manually controlling this. I will actually engage in some automation as we go forward, and you kind of have to, or the game will punish you hard. For instance, the calling taxes. Yeah, let the AI do it. As a player, you can't stay on top of this effectively, so let the AI look after this. If you want to get brave later and look after yourself, that's fine, but absolutely let the AI do this. You can override it to do specific things later. If you want to, oh, I think I need to adjust taxes to do such and such. You can come in, shut them off for a little while, do what you need to do, come back in, re-enable them, and play that way. But find your own play style. Find out what you like to do, what you don't like to do. If you don't like to do base construction, automate it. Don't like to do ship construction, automate it. A couple of different options here. You can go suggest or suggest and execute. So basically you'll get these pop-outs at the side. If you don't do anything about it the way they're set here, then they just go away, nothing happens. If you set these, suggest and execute, once it goes away, it'll actually do the job. So if you happen to miss one, not a big deal. Something will pick it up and go do it anyway. But I like to keep it on just suggest. And research, like I said, shipment-based design, I'm going to put on automatic, but we can pick and choose which designs we want to manually control. So, but we're going to keep the master switch on automatic. And a few more things we're going to put on suggest for all the diplomacy options. And fleet management, I'm going to turn off for now. I would suggest maybe you guys leave them on, but for my play style, I turn them off. For the beginning game, I might turn them back on for later game when I got a bunch of automated fleets and stuff. And these tabs down here are just more intricate settings for what we just set up. So you can do some minimum colonization adjustments if you want. You can come into diplomacy and do what you want there. Troops, what troop levels you want. Fleets, how they behave, all that. You can fine tune that. So these are like more in-depth screens to the top one here. So, yep. So that's how you can set up all your automation. Another screen you might want to visit as soon as you come in and is the government screen. Okay, there's our Mercantile Guild. There's all the bonuses we have. We scroll down a bit more. Here's a nice summary of empire bonuses from all sources. So if you want to know what's going on in your empire as far as bonuses and everything go, let's have a look here. And this is all summarized. So if we come down, we can see this one here. Counter-espionage is at 0. Well, our Haakonish race gives us +10. However, our government takes that 10 away, giving us 0. So we have two things affecting that number, and that shows up there. Again, -10 from Haakonish race, but +20 from Mercantile Guild. So we end up with a +10 diplomacy. So it looks pretty good overall. We have a bit of a problem with colony happiness, and colony corruption reduction is at -20, but I think that's not bad for what we're starting with. We got a lot of positives, so I think we should be okay. Okay, so that takes care of our automation levels. That takes care of what we're looking at as far as bonuses go. You can have a look at the economy screen. Right off the bat, it's not going to make a huge amount of sense because we just sort of started the game. The AI hasn't actually had a chance to sort things out yet, so these numbers aren't going to really make a whole lot of difference yet. There's some bonus incomes that aren't even showing, so we got to get the game going before we see anything happening in here. We'll visit this in a bit. There's also funding levels, and again, I have all this automated. For your first game, yeah, don't even monkey with this stuff. As tempting as it's going to be, sometimes you just have to say, okay, AI, you're in control. You do what you need to do. I'll assist. So that sort of try to adopt that play style for your first couple of run-throughs, and then take on more as you get familiar with stuff. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is we're going to skip this one for now because diplomacy, there's really nothing to do in here and we haven't met anybody. So we're going to come over to our character screens, and right here we find our leader. Well, I'm going to rename our leader to Montezuma. And he is ruling from Okni, which is going to be renamed as well to Zuma Prime. So there's our couple of renames. So Montezuma is going to be ruling from Zuma Prime. And we can leave these on automate. If you have your character positions on automate, then the AI will just put them where they're most effective. You can click these off if you want. I might just click them off for now, just to give us a bit of variety in what we're doing. There's spies, there's prisoners as well. And then we'll come over to our colony tab. We'll select our colony, and we get some nice stat screen on what's going on with our homeworld. We have Zuma Prime, it's a marshy swamp planet, and it has a size of 4388, quality of 63%, and there's our maximum population. This can be boosted up with facilities and whatnot, bonuses, so that's not an absolute number by any means. So approval is 40. Everybody's nice and happy because we haven't actually started taxing yet, so everybody's super happy about that. Support costs, they start at 1,000, so because we haven't started the game up yet, that's kind of where that landed, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that at the moment. And there's our colony revenue. And no corruption losses till we... actually, we don't get too many corruption losses at our homeworld. It's when you get outlying colonies, that's where that comes in. And a few stats about our population, blah, blah, blah. And we enjoy living at our empire's capital, so forth. There's our leader, Montezuma. Our troop will show up here. Planetary facilities, that's the thing we just found as we came into the game. The ancient Haakonish city ruins gives us 8% colony development and 9% scenery. And colony development is super important, and you get that from your population and runes. Resources also contribute to it. We'll look at that a little more later. So that's pretty much, and then down here is our construction queue as well, and we can queue up some stuff here as well. So I'm just going to close that out for a minute, and we're going to have a look at our resources at Homeworld. Don't worry about this column, again, because we haven't started the game up officially. These haven't actually been adjusted yet, but this is what we start with on our Homeworld as far as supply. We get a bit of fuel and a smattering of resources on the ground, and a lot of this stuff doesn't exist on our Homeworld. We actually have to reach out and grab it. Go to other planets and moons and that and start mining it. Steel in particular, that's the big one you're going to need in the early games, so we have to keep an eye out for that and seek it out first for sure. The AI is pretty good as far as doing that. If you leave your construction ships and everything automated, then they should seek that out in a timely manner for you. All right, so anyways, let's have a look at our Homeworld, and we have no troops on the ground, so we need to correct that. We're just going to go into our troop tab, and we're going to order up one Battlematon Brigade. And there he is there. So that's being recruited. He's size 5,000. So if we click on him, we get a few more options. We can move him around the queue if we want, but there's only one thing here, so there's nothing to do. But we will garrison him on the ground just so he doesn't get picked up and go elsewhere. All right, and yes, we have development, quality. This will fluctuate depending on what's going on. Some events will bring it down, some will increase it, that sort of thing. We still don't know a lot of stuff. We have 2 billion people on the ground. Very happy. So that's Homeworld. Looking pretty good. So let's get some stuff building though. So if we come into our build orders right here, you can see we have a few options. We start with a couple things already in the queue. Don't worry about initial designs, but just head out with them. We'll adjust them after, so just go with whatever the game deals you initially. They're pretty decent designs to get going with. There's no real need to adjust them. The AI is actually pretty competent in doing its design, so don't worry too much. I find you end up with a case-specific stuff that you want to do, and that's where you want to get into some specific designing. But for now, we're just going to go with the auto-generated stuff. We have one exploration ship, one construction ship, and a mining ship in the queue already. I might get a second exploration ship. We'll send one here. We'll send the other one here, maybe. Or we'll send one here, and then we'll keep the other one back to rescan Homeworld, find out what this is. So a second one is definitely going to be needed. So let's maybe get that queued up. Okay, so we have a exploration ship, construction ship, and another exploration ship. I kind of like both exploration ships out first, and then the construction ship. So if we click on the second explorer, we get the arrows again, and we can move that ahead. So now we got 2 of those coming out before the construction ship, which is perfect. One more thing to build here would be our spaceport, because we don't have a spaceport at Homeworld yet, and very important that we get one. Pretty expensive. It's going to use like half of our money, but absolutely required. So we'll queue that up as well. And notice that I did all these things I added, injected it before the private sector. Private sector is the mining ship. All this is state sector, which is what we're controlling. There's a state and private sector. So these are state ships that we're controlling, and this is a private sector ship, which the private sector is controlling. Private sector takes care of shunting all the resources around, and populations and all that kind of stuff. So in the game, there's actual real-world resources. So one piece of steel actually has a price to it, and that price is reflected in the trade and in your construction and everything. So everything has a dollar value to it. So one piece of steel will be a certain amount of money. So, and we have some location bonuses. The 2 that we already saw as we came into the game, the colony development and the population growth is here. And we have some empire development, empire bonuses, which we looked at in that first screen we looked at. They're kind of listed here as well. So that's our queue coming out. And I think that's kind of all we need to look at for Homeworld for the moment. You can leave everything on automated if you want. I tend to take more direct control just because it's early game and I'm basically looking for stuff to do. I need to keep my hands busy, so I'm going to actually take manual control of these 2 ships. I'm also going to take manual control of our construction ship for the moment. All this stuff will get automated later, but for the moment, like I said, you just kind of want something for your hands to do in the pre-warp. This is a slower game, you're going to notice, and you're going to be very tempted to speed up the 4x speed and just grind your way through it. However, I suggest you don't do that for the first run, at least your first run. Try to get the sense of time as well as the sense of scale. Like the game scale is actually pretty impressive. Like you zoom right down to this ship. Okay, that's being constructed right now. But that's our homeworld there. So that's how small the ships are compared to your planet size. Gone are the 4x days where your ship is the size of a planet. Yep. So the scale is very important in this game, as is the scale of time, which is why I'm encouraging you not to use a 4x for your first playthrough. You're going to have lots to poke around and look at while things are happening, and you'll see that as we get going. All right, so we've taken all our ships off of construct. Now let's come into ship designs for a minute. And like I said, we have the master's toggle switch for everything to be automated as far as ship designs. However, I've come in here and I've adjusted a few things to be manual. This is the auto design column here, so as long as it's on manual, I have to actually redesign these ships with every new technology we get. These ones here are private sector. You can manually design these if you want. However, I generally just leave it to the AI for now. So I leave those 2 at automatic. I'm just going to do that for an example this time out. But generally, I do take the designs over for these. I do live stream as well, and just to keep things flowing for the live stream, I try to take as much off my manual plate as possible and automate a fair bit of stuff in the game. But for this playthrough, I'll probably be a little more hands-on. We'll look at the game design, the ship design screen a little more later. But I just wanted maybe this is the retrofit column, so I just want to put these on manual. I don't want these automatically retrofitting. They probably won't anyways because they got the ships manually controlled. So this only applies if they're automated. At some point they'll say, okay, time to retrofit, and I'll have to go to retrofit. But because I'm controlling them manually, we're not going to worry about it. Again, you don't have to do any of this manually. You can leave everything automated and it'll just take off and go. So if you just want to start up the game and just follow the prompts as the game progresses, that's fine too. So anyways, that's the design screen. And there's a build order screen here as well, which we can use to build some stuff. Or we can use the planet to build stuff as well. So there's a few different ways you can build stuff. We'll come over to the technology screen, and we can have more than one lab running at one time. But right now, we don't have the capacity to run more than one, so we're going to start with one. We can crank this all the way up to 6 if we want. Basically, all it does is it will divide your total science by 6. So if you had 6 things researching, it's going to slow them all down. So in the beginning game, you're better off with one lab and then expand it as you need to. There's some hit and misses on why you would want to do this, but we won't go into that right now. And a few tabs here you can look through. There's your research bonuses. So these were included in that other screen we looked at, but they're also included here just so you can just see what your science alone is. So as you can see, we got some pretty good bonuses in construction speed and hyperdrive, engines, and all research. So all research, this applies to absolutely every research in the tree. So right off the bat, we're going to get 5% to all our research. Beautiful. If we happen to be researching hyperdrive, guess what? We're going to get 15 because it's going to add the 5 to the 10. We'll get 15 for hyperdrive research. And we'll go in and have a look at that right now. So let's go into our research tree. And we have everything set up. I'm just going to shrink it down a bit so more gets on the screen. We have everything set up to be hidden. So all we can see of the tech tree right now is the first couple levels. And everything else will be revealed as we go. There's a 3rd level there. But yeah, everything else will be revealed as we go. We have some diplomacy text down here. Because we're Haakonish, we know all those already. So there's no need to actually research those. And as we came into the game, it actually gave us some progression towards our warp field experiments and also our research labs right there. So the first thing we definitely want is skip drives. And this technology gives us skip drives, and that'll allow us to explore the rest of our solar system. It doesn't get us out in the galaxy at all, but it will get us a bit better than impulse engines to get around in our home system. It's been progressed by 50% because of that, or well, yeah, 50% because of that event we had. So what we can do now is we can crash this program, and that will double the speed at which we research it. It will also ensure that no accidents happen that sets our research back. So it pretty much locks it in. It's going to cost us 3,750 credits. And as we can see from the tooltip, what, fourth line down or something. Click to initiate crash program, 3,750 credits. And cash on hand is 11,588. Definitely do it. Want to get through that as quickly as possible. And you can queue multiple stuff up. You can add stuff to the queue. Next up, I would suggest something in the defense categories. Well, before we get going, just roll over this again. Second line down, plus 15% research for this project. That's because we have 5% all research, 10% warp field research bonuses. Adds up to 15. Here, we only get the plus 5 for the all research. So we don't have any actual deflector bonuses or shield bonuses for research. So it's just the all research applying here. You can also get armor. Plus 5 again for that research. Pick one or the other for the first one. I generally tend to go with armor for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a bit smaller. Our ships are quite tiny at the moment. So I generally go with armor. Shields are a bit bigger. They also need power. So you have to power them as well. So that's more reactor requirements. So for the first, my preference for the first tech is to grab armor. So I'm just going to queue that now. I can't rush this one because it's not currently being researched. You have to currently be researching something. And once you lock it in with a crash program, you can adjust the queue. It's locked in at the top position. So that's locked in. So that's the tech tree, and we'll reveal more of that as the game progresses. Anything you see here with these up arrows are just an improvement to an existing research, which means, or an existing component, which means you do not have to retrofit to get that effect. Think of it as a firmware upgrade to the hardware. So this is just a firmware upgrade to what you already have as hardware. So that's the way I kind of think about that. Yeah, plug in a USB stick and there's your upgrade. All right, so anyways, I guess that's kind of all we need to do to get started. There is a tour that starts up. If it's your first time playing and you haven't actually looked at the game yet, pause this video and go through the tour that pops up on your first game. It shows you where all the screens are, what all these buttons do, and everything else. Familiarize yourself with that a little bit. There's also little question mark things here you can click on, and it'll give you a full tour of what's in this screen, sort of thing. You can go through those too. Not overly required. If you want to just carry on with the video, that's fine. But I would suggest maybe go through the interface tour, just so you know what we're looking at. When I pop into a screen, then you'll know what you're looking at, right? So maybe pause the video, have a look through that, and come on back, and we'll get the game started. And with that, we're going to bring this episode to a close. Join us next time as we perform the great unpausing. Also keep in mind that we are live streaming this game every night from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do take Tuesday nights off, but we are here 6 days a week otherwise. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, so be sure to stop by, check it out. Anyways, that brings this episode to a close, and we will catch you next time for the great unpausing. Thanks for watching.